Okay, so you're scrolling online, minding your own business, and then you see a question that just stops you in your tracks. This year, that question was, is having a boyfriend embarrassing? I know it sounds totally absurd, right? But today, we're going to dive deep into this and figure out how it sparked a massive worldwide debate.
And look, this wasn't just some throwaway meme. This simple question, which really feels like it should be a joke, was no joke at all. It absolutely blew up, sparking this huge, fierce global conversation. It got people really fired up and left a lot of folks, critics, commentators, scrambling to figure out what was really going on here.
And you might be thinking, okay, where did this even come from? A random tweet? Nope, this actually started in a pretty major publication, Vogue Singapore. They basically came out and said that the zeitgeist, the whole mood and spirit of our culture right now, has shifted. And suddenly, having a boyfriend wasn't this cool status symbol anymore. It was, well, the word they used was cringe. So let's get into it. How on earth does one article from a fashion magazine explode into a full-blown internet-breaking debate? Well, it all comes down to the crazy speed of viral culture today. Just look at this timeline. It shows how unbelievably fast this whole thing happened. In October, Vogue drops the article. Then, by early November, boom, it's everywhere on TikTok and Instagram Reels. Just a couple of weeks after that, mainstream news outlets are picking it up. And by the end of the month, we're talking a full-on global phenomenon. It was that quick. All right, so let's try to understand the yes side of this. I mean, why would anyone actually agree that having a boyfriend is embarrassing? The answer, as it turns out, is a lot more complex than you might think. So, for the people who were nodding along saying, yes, it is embarrassing, it was never really about the guy himself. It was about what having a boyfriend represents in public. It was this whole movement about, prioritizing your female friendships, pushing back against old school social rules, and really stepping into your own main character energy. You know that idea? It's where your life, your goals, and your friends are the main plot, not your relationship status. And this really gets to the heart of the conflict. It's like this clash between two different identities. On one side, you've got the girl's girl. Her focus is on herself, her career, her friends. Her validation comes from within. On the other side, there's this idea of the pick-me girl, whose focus is seen as finding a male partner, and whose validation comes from male attention. It's independence versus a more traditional relationship goal. And this quote from the Cavalier Daily just nails it. It says, it's about refusing to let a romantic relationship be the most interesting thing about you. That's it, right there. The whole embarrassment thing is basically a rebellion. It's pushing back against this old, tired idea that a woman's biggest accomplishment is who she's dating. Okay, but as you can probably guess, when you throw an idea this controversial out into the world, a backlash isn't just likely, it's inevitable. And boy, was it swift and fierce. Almost as soon as the idea went viral, this huge counter-argument started building. People were saying, hold on a second, this whole trend is not just flawed, it's privileged and maybe even a little harmful. Airmail magazine came in with a really sharp take, calling it a luxury belief. And what does that mean? Well, their point was it's a huge privilege to be embarrassed by a supportive partner. It's a trend for people who've probably never had to seriously worry about loneliness or financial stability. Then you had outlets like The Guardian, which offered up this really powerful feminist counter-argument. They said, look, true feminism is all about having choices. Shaming women for being in a loving relationship, that isn't liberation. It's actually the opposite. It's just another way to judge women for their decisions. And then there was the more, human response, captured perfectly by Women Alive. They just asked, since when did it become cool to be cynical about love and connection? This really hit on the feeling that the whole trend was just unnecessarily negative about something pretty fundamental to being human. So if we break down all that criticism, it looks something like this. A huge chunk, 40%, felt it was actually anti-feminist because it limited women's choices. Another 30% just thought it was, immature, a childish way to look at relationships. Then you've got the 20% who saw it as that luxury belief we talked about. And finally, about 10% just dismissed the whole thing as manufactured clickbait. Okay, so we've got these two camps, right? Fiercely arguing back and forth. But what if this whole debate was never actually about boyfriends?
What if the boyfriend part is just a stand-in for something much, much bigger that we're all feeling? Because when you dig a little deeper, the real issue, the real anxiety, doesn't seem to be about having a partner. It's about the performance of having a partner online. It's about that crushing pressure we all feel to curate this perfect, flawless love life for everyone on social media to see. And there's actually a name for this. It's called performative intimacy. Think about it. It's the act of curating your relationship for an audience. You know, the perfect couple photos, the super gushing captions, the big public declarations of love. You're basically turning a private, real connection into a public show. And that, for a lot of people, is what's truly cringe. So when you put it all together, this whole boyfriend embarrassment thing is way more than just a silly internet trend. It's actually a perfect window into some of the biggest things happening in our culture right now. We're talking about the insane pressure of personal branding, how feminism is changing for a new generation, the fact that there's almost no line between our public and private lives anymore, and honestly, a real exhaustion with the whole culture of oversharing. And that leaves us with a question that's way, way bigger than the one we started with. In this age where we're always performing, is any part of our lives actually private anymore? Or are we all just constantly curating everything we do for an audience of people we don't even know?